Two pilots have died in Greece after their water-bombing plane crashed while they tried to fight forest fires north of Athens. Two pilots have died in Greece after their water-bombing plane crashed on the island of Evia, north of Athens, while they were trying to put out a forest fire. It is a grim reminder of the dangers faced by those battling to control wildfires, which continue to rage on several Greek islands. Rhodes is the worst hit, with more evacuation flights underway to rescue stranded tourists. In a moment, we'll look at the impact that climate change is having with our climate editor, Justin Rowlatt. But first, our correspondent, Jenny Hill, reports from Rhodes.
Unrelenting, unforgiving, the fires are raging on. Firefighters battling to contain them, not just here on Rhodes, but on the islands of Evia and Corfu too. It's desperate, dangerous work. This afternoon on Evia, a terrible reminder of the risks taken. A firefighting aircraft dumps its water, appears to clip a tree, and loses control. We've chosen not to show the moment of impact. So many are putting themselves in harm's way. Like volunteer firefighter Panagiotis, who takes us to see what this fire can do. His team's camping nearby, still on high alert. Their village is just down the road.
You can understand our anguish. We were running to put out the fire. We were desperate to save the forest, but we were also desperate to save our houses and our families.
When we came to the top of a nearby hill, the scale of the challenge became obvious. Up here, you really get a sense of how difficult the task is for firefighters. When we first arrived here, most of the smoke was coming from over there, but in the last few minutes, there's been a flare-up just down here. And of course, the strong wind is not only making things tougher for the people fighting the fires, but much more dangerous. This isn't the image this tourist island wants to project. Earlier, the Greek Prime Minister acknowledged that difficult days lie ahead. Which is why, even here, a birthday's worth celebrating, though the candle's unlit.
You don't like the...
No, we don't like the fire.
We only put out the fires, he jokes. We don't start them. Jenny Hill, BBC News, Rhodes.
A group of international scientists has warned that the heat waves we're seeing in parts of Europe, the US and Asia would have been almost impossible if it weren't for climate change caused by humans. Their study says global warming from burning fossil fuels also made the heat wave affecting parts of China 50 times more likely. Our climate editor, Justin Rowlatt, is here to explain. Justin.
Thanks, Sophie. Well, it isn't just Rhodes that's experiencing exceptional wildfires. This is Algeria in North Africa, where at least 34 people are reported to have died as a result of the heat and the fires. There have been fires in parts of Italy, like here in Palermo in Sicily, where the airport had to close due to the fires. Meanwhile, 45 million Americans are under extreme heat warnings, while Phoenix in Arizona faces its 26th consecutive day with temperatures above 43 degrees Celsius, an all-time record. And yes, it is always hot in summer, but scientists said today the heat waves in the US and Europe would have been virtually impossible without climate change. They found the heat wave in Europe was made 2.5 degrees Celsius hotter because of all the carbon dioxide we've pumped into the atmosphere. The heat wave in the US was an estimated 2 degrees Celsius hotter, and the scientists say the heat wave in China was made 50 times more likely and 1 degree hotter, thanks, of course, to climate change. They say the findings came as no surprise.
We have seen and known for years that heat waves are getting hotter and more intense and longer because of human-induced climate change. So if we don't stop burning fossil fuels very, very soon, then these kind of heat waves will become even more frequent. So we are likely to see a heat wave like this every other year in a 2-degree world.
So is it inevitable that climate change will continue indefinitely? Well, countries have pledges to massively cut their emissions. Here in the UK, the plan is to get to net zero by 2050. That means the country won't be adding any additional CO2 to the atmosphere.
But I briefly want to touch on the temperature that was recorded in Sardinia yesterday. So it was 48 0.2 degrees Celsius, a near record. This is the second highest temperature ever recorded in the European continent during the summer. The extreme heat is not going to last for much longer. In fact, if we look at tomorrow, a dip in the jet stream here from the northwest into the Mediterranean means that that extreme heat will actually be pushed temporarily further towards the east. And look at the values here. So Palermo yesterday was actually at 47 Celsius. Tomorrow it'll be 29 and also nowhere near as hot in Sardinia. So those temperatures are easing there in the central Med.